Hi guys, it's Megan. Welcome back to another video in the library today. School has started, so we are back in the library, and today we're going to talk about the 8 books that I read in July. So July was a really good reading month, reading 8 books because, you know, obviously I was at home because I'm a teacher or librarian, and I was off for the summer, but now August is probably going to slow down. I think I've already read like 3 or 4 books this month already though, and it's like halfway through August that I'm filming this because I've been really busy with back to school stuff. But I also DNF'd 4 books in July, so let's go ahead and start with those. So the first book I DNF'd in July was The Ballad of Perilous Graves. I was so excited about this book because if you know anything about me, if you've seen my channel, I love Anne Rice so much. I love vampires, I love New Orleans, and this book was set in like a magical sort of version of New Orleans, so I was super excited for it. It was also massive. I didn't realize how chunky this book was. So I read, I'll tell you, 33% of it before I was like, I just don't care about anything that was happening. It was weird. It was strangely fast-paced but also slow at the same time, if that makes any sense. So DNF'd it, super sad, probably like my biggest disappointment because I think it was one of the books I was the most excited about that was coming out this year. Next I DNF'd these 2 books in a row, so that was kind of sad because I just was almost in a little bit of a reading slump after that. But then I DNF'd The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan He. This is a young adult sci-fi novel. The cover does not look sci-fi. It looks like realistic fiction. It looks like 2 sisters or whatever, because that's what it is. But it's actually sci-fi, and it's futuristic about these two sisters in this like society that has these eco-cities. It's a lot about like climate change and stuff, which I was actually really excited about that part, but somehow I just didn't care about anything that was happening. And I mean, I could have finished it. It probably would have been 3 stars. It was fine, but I just don't really have time for 3-star books anymore, which is going to be ironic in a minute because I gave a lot of the books this month 3 stars. Then I DNF'd In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. I did not get very far. In fact, I only got 15% of the way through. Oh, the other book, The Ones We're Meant to Find, I got 20%. But this one, I stopped right away at 15% because I just knew it wasn't for me. This is like a mystery thriller kind of thing about like years later after kids have been at like, I can't even remember now, college, I think it was, not high school, I think it was college. Something happened there, somebody died, and now it's the past is kind of coming back to haunt them when they're older, and they might be at a class reunion. I honestly can't remember, I've forgotten everything about it. But what I realized is it's not so much a mystery thriller as it was about the people and their drama, very realistic fiction, just their relationships with each other, and I did not care about that. Finally, I DNF'd The Black Prism by Brent Weeks. I was so sad because I really wanted to start like a new fantasy series that was going to be so good. I did read the audiobook, and maybe that's my downfall because I know myself well enough not to listen to fantasy audiobooks because I can't keep up with all the names and places and stuff, but I don't think that was the problem here. I read the equivalent of over 200 pages of this. So it was a really long book. I got a third of the way through it because it's like over 600 pages long, and I was just bored. I was bored to tears. I thought the magic system was really interesting with being based on colors, and I wish that there had been more about that, but like the part that there was just kind of strange. I don't know. I DNF'd it and already got rid of my copy of the book. Okay, now let's talk about the books that I did read and the ratings that I gave them. So I have them on my handy dandy spreadsheet that I make every month now. So the first book that I did actually read and finish was Last Chance Books by Kelsey Rodkey. I was really excited about this one because I didn't like Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and this is kind of what I thought that book was going to be, except this one's young adult. And it was really good. I wound up giving it 4 stars, which for me to give a romance young adult book 4 stars, that has never happened and will probably never happen again. But I do highly recommend this book if you like books because it is about sort of a, you know, home run bookstore versus a chain bookstore that's moved in across the street, and the 2 of them are competitors, and of course the 2 teenagers that work there have tension, but then obviously they're gonna fall in love. Okay, then I read Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas, only because Kayla from Books and La La on her channel said that this book was really good. She gave it 5 stars, but she said it wasn't for everybody. And she's right, because I gave this book 2.5 stars, but I might even go down to 2 stars. I really did not enjoy it. It was so boring. Nothing happens. It's all just atmosphere and mood. It's like a creepy, you know, school setting. Maybe I don't like dark academia. Maybe it's boring to me. I don't know, but nothing actually happens. It says it's a modern gothic tale that's eerily disturbing. It is just, the whole thing is just eerie, but that's it. Like, it doesn't go anywhere, doesn't do anything, just kind of a creepy atmosphere. So if you're into that, I guess this would be for you, but honestly, the plot and the characters just weren't there for me. Then I read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. Everyone hypes this book up. It's a sci-fi adult thriller. Sci-fi thriller sounded very interesting to me. Well, right before I started reading it, Leanna from Leanna's Library. She said that this book, she gave it like 1 star and said it was awful. And she said this book was like, it was so stupid that it was basically the same as, what's the movie? It's a Wonderful Life, but make it stupid. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is what this book is. It's like sort of having a different version of your life if you hadn't made certain decisions, but it involves sci-fi aspects. I gave it 2 stars, only because I usually save 1 star for books I've DNF'd. So 2 stars are books I just do not enjoy, and I did not enjoy this book, and I'm afraid to read more from Blake Crouch because his other books are sci-fi thrillers, but I might give him 1 more chance. Okay, then I read Far from the Light of Heaven by Tade, I think is how you say it, Tade Thompson. This was also a sci-fi mystery. Like, I don't know what's up with sci-fi mysteries and thrillers lately that I've been reading. I don't know. But this one's also adult. I gave this one 3 stars. It was fine. It was just there. Forgettable. Like, if this were Jeremy John's rating system for movies that he does, this would be like, forget in T-minus 2 days. Don't remember much that happened. It's set in space. It's supposed to be a locked room mystery because, you know, they're on a spaceship. So anybody could have been the killer. Like, anybody on the ship could have been the killer, basically, and you had to figure out who it was. And I don't know, it was strange. This was just a strange book. I just didn't really care for it. It was just there. Okay, then I read my second Grady Hendrix book. So last month I had read My Best Friend's Exorcism, loved it, gave it like 4.5 stars, great. Then I decided to read Horror Store, also by Grady Hendrix, because it was short and it was about a haunted IKEA, basically. It's not called IKEA, but that's basically what it was. So I gave this book 3 stars. It's very short, and the beginning, the atmosphere was really cool. I actually really liked the plot, but then where it went with the scary stuff was just kind of bizarre. Like, it wasn't that scary, and I guess I wanted it to be scarier. So I wound up giving it 3 stars. It was fine. Then I read The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. I have the sequel right here, but I'll just show you the first book. This book was so good. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. I gave it 4 stars. It was so good. It's a sci-fi, people list it as fantasy. I think it's more sci-fi. Very super far in the future, Earth, we've like destroyed the Earth. The Earth is kind of even like out to get us basically at this point. And so there's these seasons called 5th seasons where every now and then, and it depends, it could be thousands of years between a 5th season, but a 5th season is like this huge big climate disaster or something to do with the tectonic plates shifting or something like that. And it causes like mass chaos in the entire world and like, you know, wipes out tons of the population. And so this book is like the start of a new 5th season that could actually be the true end of the world, that the planet might not survive it. And part of this book is told in second person point of view. I feel like a lot of people have probably heard this. If you know, you've heard of this book, it's very, very popular. And I loved that part. I thought that was so good. The prologue of this book is like the best, one of the best things I've ever read in my entire life. It was so good. It hooks you in. It was so well written. It was wonderful. The plot was a little odd, so that's why I was kind of like, that's why I won't give it 5 stars. But I have to say, I will go ahead and spoil, I've already read the 2 sequels in August. They did not live up to the hype. Like, I gave them like 3 and 2 stars, so I would just stop at book 1. Book 1 was good. The other 2 just kind of mediocre. Then I read The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, also by Grady Hendrix. So this is my 3rd Grady Hendrix novel just this summer. Apparently I'm really into him right now because he is a very, very good writer. This one is sort of horror. We listed, oh, sorry, this is not our school copy. This is the public library copy. We listed it as horror though in our library. It's adult, but young adults could definitely read it. It's what it sounds like. I mean, the title tells you the entire plot of the story. It was very similar to My Best Friend's Exorcism, except I liked that book better. I think I wound up giving this book 3 stars, 3.5 stars. So better than average, but not a 4 star, not as good as My Best Friend's Exorcism. That one kind of had the opposite plot of this one, if that makes any sense. The other one was like the main character, who's not the one that's possessed or anything, but the main character becomes like the only one that can help her friend. And in this one, the main character has to gather all of her friends to help the neighborhood, basically. But anyway, it's supposed to be, it was kind of inspired by My Best Friend's Exorcism. She talks about it in here that this was supposed to be like in the same neighborhood as that story. So anyway, but he said he wanted it to be like, what would happen if he put his mom against Dracula, that's what this book was supposed to be. So it was fun, and I do still recommend it. Okay, our last book is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, because I read Malibu Rising for just a random video that I made about like, would I like this book even though I don't like, you know, this type of book. It's not fantasy, it's not sci-fi. It's just, this one's sort of like historical fiction with some romance and, just realistic basically. And it was fine. It wasn't as good as Malibu Rising, which I surprisingly decided that I actually liked after the fact. But this one was just sort of there. I wound up I gave it 3 stars because it was just there. It's forgettable. I didn't dislike it. It was, honestly, I have no feelings really one way or the other towards it. I don't know that I'll ever read from this author again, just because now I've read 2 of her books. They were very similar structure. She has a tendency, this author, to not write a lot of scenes, if that makes any sense. So not that she, there's the whole thing about showing and not telling. It's not that she tells the story and doesn't show it. It's just like she'll kind of summarize like what's happened in a big chunk of time, and then it'll show like one scene that's happening that's important during that time period. Then it'll summarize more of what's been going on. But I guess because it is historical, it does sort of have to do that. But because this covers like this whole woman's life, so of course she can't have that many scenes in it. But I guess I like more just scenes and not them just telling me a summary of what happened the time in between. And that was the same with Malibu Rising too. So I felt like they were very similar, and I liked Malibu Rising better. But anyway, it was fine. It was there, whatever. So those were the 8 books that I read. My favorite was definitely the 5th season, but I had no 5-star books this month, which was kind of sad. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, what you thought about them. Should I read more Grady Hendrix at this point? Because, I mean, my goodness, I'm on a roll. I've read 3. Do I try Blake Crouch again? That's the real question. I'm kind of scared because that one wasn't very good. Do I totally give up on Evelyn Hugo? We'll see. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.